That was quite a long intro. When I was editing it, it just didn't feel right talking over the trailers, so I just put it there without any narration. After a year of playing, sometimes I just forget how beautiful this game can be. Oh, speaking of that, I finally hit a year since my character creation. This video is not only for people to watch, but also for me to reflect and be grateful of what has happened in the past year. This game has truly changed my life. I had friends with me that are getting married, doing raids, decorating their houses, and I wanted to do all of that. But of course, I was gated by the main story quest. I didn't skip the story per se, but I wouldn't say I read through everything either. I wish I paid attention more than I did, but long story short, I was hooked. When I started playing, my college still had hybrid classes, so I would be playing when I had online classes. Mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I finished Endwalker in just 3 weeks. I did it just to catch up with everyone, so I can spend time with them and do more stuff with them. But little did I know, at that time, disaster would struck. It was complicated, but I did something that I shouldn't have, and drama happened in our group. They kicked me from their FC and everything that could go wrong went wrong. It was my fault and I felt bad. I can't say that I blame them for kicking me, but now I'm honestly lost. I didn't know what to do, my motivation to play this game was gone and I was so close to quitting. Until I decided to move from EU to JP. Well, you see, if you recognize my horrible accent, I am Chinese and I live in one of the Southeast Asian countries. I was always interested in raiding, but my ping was horrible in EU and I was lazy. So moving to JP would fix that problem, and so after moving, I looked for an FC and I thought I'd give this game a second chance. And so I was looking for some friends that could guide me because I'm still clueless and there are a lot of things to do in Final Fantasy. You have things like Boja, you have Eureka, and my primary target, which is raiding. So I found my first FC. I honestly got lucky and I met a lot of people who were very nice. I even got to housing at that time because the FC just got a large house and I was passionate about decorating stuff. Back in the days, I used to build a lot of cool stuff in sandbox games like Terraria and Minecraft. So one of their officers teach me the basic of decorating houses and I'd help him decorate the house. This was before 6.4 and my FC was organizing a Savage raid run. I, of course, without any hesitation joined and that raid was... I wish I had some footage when I was doing P5S, but I was so bad at the game at that time, it was hilarious. I died to Devour more times than I'd like to admit. But in the end, me and several other dumbasses took down the Pro Carbuncle. At that time, I was hooked more than ever before. I was doing Boja and I was doing lots and lots of housing. And I was also looking for a static for the new 6.4 patch. Although, there's only one problem. My only raiding experience is P5S, and for you raiding idiots, you might know this thing called FFLogs, and my parse on that P5S run was A2. Well, yes, I was undergeared, but I was also just simply bad at the game. So when I came looking for a static, and they looked at my logs, I of course got rejected left and right. I couldn't find a static on my own, so I did the only logical thing that everyone would do. Suffer in PF with 7 random people with questionable skill level and tried clearing the tier that way. P9S went okay, I think. Well, not really if you're saying it from a perspective from a hardcore raider, but for a new sprout, I personally call it a W. I cleared the fight on June 1st, 8 days after the Savage patch came out. I used Dark Knight and it honestly felt really great. I really thought I could clear this year. My first P10S clear was on June 25th. Yes, 24 days after my P9S clear. P10S was the fight that honestly almost broke me. I thought P9S was pretty hard already. P9S had some mechanics that are like puzzly like, especially limit cut 1 and 2, but it was manageable once you understand what the numbers mean. P10S however was different. It almost broke me because of 2 reasons. 1, PF sucks, and 2, I also suck. It even became a joke among us my friend at that time that the official PF strats for Bonds 3 is healer LB, or if you have 4 parties that just stand still and just commit unalive to save everyone else the trouble saving you. I PF'd for like some time and I gave up. I spent like 20 days crafting, gathering, and doing other stuff that are not related to raiding. I was also broke back then, so I tried various guild collecting methods, but then I finally find a static that was willing to adopt me. Well, yes, it was a casual static, but honestly, back then I was really happy that any static would want to adopt me. While it was slow, we cleared P10S. Well, I've never done any other second turn other than P10S. It's like P2S or P6S, but I've heard from people that P10S is the hardest second turn ever, so I was honestly really proud that I could clear P10S. P11S was nothing memorable and we cleared it no problem, but we disbanded because a lot of people ended up having to leave due to IRL stuff, so I joined a new static. We cleared phase 1 of P12S but we disbanded, so I joined another static and we saw phase 2 in rage 3 times, but we disbanded because we just couldn't get to P2 again. To this day, I still have never cleared P12S. On the other news however, I was able to make my own static because I had decent numbers at that point, and I made my own static, and so the static was for T, and we started back when I was with my second Savage crew. His mechanics was honestly nothing special. The fight overall is not even that difficult, but the consistency that is needed to even proc the fight is honestly the most difficult part about this fight. Keep in mind that not only you need to be consistent yourself, but the other 7 people that are running with you need to do as well. If someone makes a mistake, you die. That's just how ultimates are. Despite the difficulty spike from P10S, which is the hardest fight I've cleared up until that point, me and my static was able to clear the fight. After clearing T, I took a little break from reading. I was addicted to housing at that point and I have to say, I got a lot better at it. Even if I wasn't the best builder out there, my builds were more sophisticated and planned out. I learned some tricks from one of my static members. She was a builder, and if you don't know about housing, you might be surprised if I tell you that some of the things that you see in other people's house are not just made from one piece of furniture. Like, you see that bridge? You see those? Those aren't actually bridges. Those are these shelves glitched with a certain way and they make it so they line up and look like a bridge. And that thing, you see that thing? Like what? Does that not mess you with your brain? But anyway, besides from that, I did some more gathering and crafting. I also did normal Criterion dungeons. I did all the routes and got the mod from Mount Rokon. And I finally decided to start my own Uwu static. At that time, I wanted to clear as many ultimates as possible before Dawn Trail, so I wanted to get the easiest one out of the way. Compared to T, Uwu was honestly a cakewalk. Don't get me wrong, it is still a hard fight. It's an ultimate after all, but the only real mechanic in the fight are jails, annihilation, and suppression, so it honestly wasn't that bad. The fight wasn't very memorable and I immediately moved on to DSR. At that time, I didn't know how much pain I was gonna go through clearing this fight, and so I created my own DSR static. I was surprised by the people who joined because they are some of the best players in the game and they just wanted to help. So I was excited and I immediately got to studying the fight. And so surely this won't take too long, right? We disbanded and I cleared in PF. It's just like one thing after another that led us to ultimately not being able to clear the fight. I got lucky in PF that again, I got some of the best players in the game helping me get the clear. They seriously bailed me out there. These guys came from the same group as one of the helpers I mentioned earlier that joined my static. And by their grace, I got my ass carried in DSR and I got my clear. This fight made T look like a cakewalk, just like how Uwu is a cakewalk when you compared it to T. The fight was good, don't get me wrong, but for me, it was miserable to proc. Not only the fight is longer than T, in this fight there exists an actual DPS check and the mechanics are no joke. There's some really hard mechs so far into the fight, making progging it so much harder because even to attempt the mech that you're currently progging, you need to actually get there, and it was miserable. I got so lucky that some of the bored gods decided to join my PF at like 9 AM in the morning and help me get the clear. While I don't have as much free time as before, I still want to do a lot of things before Dawn Trail and ultimately in 2024. The upcoming Savage tier is in 7.1 and it's coming in more or less in 7 months as of the making of this video. Me and my friends are looking for some new quad or penta legends to proc the tier. We're not going for week 1 or anything because I'm too stupid and dumb to actually execute mechanics, but I wanted to try what it's like to proc a Savage tier blind. But I cannot recruit Penta Legends if I'm not Penta myself, so I'm planning to hopefully get a top and UCOP clear before Dawn Trail. I'm already working on UCOP, so there's only one Ultimates left.
Let's fucking go, baby! Let's go! Let's go!
After playing for a year, if someone asked me, should I play the game? I'd go, Jokes aside though, FF14 is my first MMO, so it's not like I can tell you if FF14 is better than other MMOs like WoW or Lost Ark or not, but I did enjoy the game, and if I were to give it a rating, I'd honestly give it a Lalafell out of 10.